Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode. I'm Mike Monticello.
I'm Steve Ellick.
And I'm Mike Quincy.
So we're going to mix things up a little bit here. We're going to start off the podcast with a question. We have a question from Gavin from Utah, and Gavin says, I am probably your youngest listener at the age of only 13. My question is, are you ever going to review any type of truck? Because I have noticed a lack of small to full-size trucks from any brand on the podcast. Now, if you're wondering, how Gavin sent us that question, well, he texted us at talkingcars@icloud.com, which is the best way for anyone to reach out to us and send us a question or a comment. So, Gavin, while you're correct that we haven't been doing a lot of pickup trucks recently, we did cover the redesigned Chevrolet Colorado just a few episodes ago. That was number 443, so be sure to check that one out. But your question is very pertinent today, because today we're going to be focused on the redesigned all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma. So if you watch the podcast regularly or listen, you know that we buy all of our test cars anonymously from area dealers, and this is a test vehicle that we bought. If we rent the vehicle from an automaker, then we would never test that vehicle. But in this case, we bought this truck we're going to be talking about, and it will be going through our test program.
And just one nuance on Gavin's question is, like, I've noticed a lack of small trucks. Yeah, so have we. We'd like to see some more small trucks from manufacturers, just as a general principle.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you think about it.
There's not a lot of them out there.
No, but think about it. You think about 2022 Nissan Frontier, totally redesigned. Colorado and GMC Canyon, 2023, totally redesigned. This Toyota Tacoma, totally redesigned for 24. Ford Ranger being totally redesigned for 2024. So, I mean, they're
Gladiator, that's pretty old.
They're here and they're coming. We just haven't gotten to them.
But when I think small, I think Ford Maverick.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of a small truck.
Yeah, these are more mid-sized now.
So there's not a lot of small truck. Well, I guess there's the Santa Cruz, the Hyundai Santa Cruz.
Okay, that's a pickup the way an El Camino is a pickup.
Right.
Okay. So let's stay focused on pickup trucks today.
Those are collector's cars.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of the vehicle that we bought a 2024 Tacoma SR5 four-wheel drive double cab with the 5-foot bed, and double cab is Toyota's speak for a crew cab, a four-door crew cab. So it means it has 4 full-size doors on it. We got the SR5 upgrade and cold weather package, which has heated front seats, leather and heated steering wheel, automatic climate control, an upgraded JBL audio system with a portable speaker, a wireless charger, and a power rear window, among other things, meaning the very rear window, not the side windows. Those are power too.
I don't think you can get roll-up windows anymore on a new car.
Along with a few other options, plus the $1,495 destination charge, the total price of our test truck is $46,787. The 2024 Tacoma has a reasonably full suite of standard active safety and driver assistance features, including automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, automatic emergency braking that operates at highway speeds, lane departure warning, lane keeping assistance, lane centering assistance, adaptive cruise control, and automatic high beams. Of note, blind spot warning and rear cross traffic warning are optional on the base SR, but both of those are standard on the SR5, like we purchased for the program. So they're just not standard on the base model. And you guys might find this interesting. As truck guys and car guys, you can still get a 6-speed manual on some of the Tacoma trims for 2024. That includes the base SR, as well as the TRD Sport and TRD Off-Road trim. So that's pretty cool, right?
That'd be cool.
Does Steve know about your manual transmission Toyota truck?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a nice
People know, people know, and no one cares anymore. They've heard about it way too much. Actually, I had it here the other day, and Steve was waving at me.
But it's so pertinent for this discussion, because
it doesn't make me biased, but I do have a 2000 Toyota Tacoma.
And you drove this cross country.
I did, yeah. So it has a special place in my heart. So, okay, quick background on the new truck before we get too derailed on my truck that no one cares about. The 2024 model, this is a clean sheet redesign. The outgoing version was pretty long in a tooth. The mechanical roots basically trace back to 2005. There was a couple updates, but basically it was the same old truck for a long time. And it had a really low road test score. It had an awkward driving position, clumsy handling, stiff ride, elevated cabin noise. With the saving grace being, Toyota reliability. the Tacoma not always, believe it or not, as strong as some other Toyota products over the years. Pretty good, above average for the most part, but not super strong, right?
It has some occasional blips, but I mean, you could still say it's still pretty high Toyota reliability. I mean, right now this is, predicted to be above average, and when you look through historically, they're still pretty reliable in the truck realm.
Interestingly, though, and this kind of goes to our point about the low road test score, is that the owner satisfaction score was typically on the below average side, right? Or merely average. So these are our internal stats that we do through all of our auto surveys. And so, you normally think of everyone loving their Tacoma, but apparently they weren't really always loving these Tacomas because they'd gotten so kind of behind the times.
Well, that goes kind of to the nuance of living with a vehicle on a day-to-day basis. And as you mentioned, the older model had a rough ride. It had a pretty terrible driving position.
Oh, you mean the ride comfort? You mean?
Yeah. The ride was really stiff. It's hard to get into. You're practically sitting on the floor with the old model, which the new one has made some improvements to. But there's an idea of I want this vehicle, and then there's the reality of day-to-day living with it. I always think of like the Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah.
Because this is a vehicle that most people really, really like. Yeah. But if that is your daily driver, there's a lot of compromises there.
And really strong resale value over the years.
Right.
I can speak to that for when I bought my truck. It was hard to find, and because I bought mine used. But anyway, so we're talking about a truck that had gotten long in the tooth, still a very popular model. Everyone knows about it, knows about the Tacoma and how good it is off road and durable for the most part. So. But it needed changes done, Quince, to kind of keep up with the times. Did they make some pretty good improvements to this truck?
Well, the redesign model had a lot to overcome from the older. The answer to the question is, did it get better? It was like, well, yes and no, I think. The ride, by our early impressions, probably improved. Mm-hmm. Driving position, definitely
way better.
Improved.
Yeah.
This new turbocharged, well, it's not actually new, but this turbocharged engine is very responsive.
New to the Tacoma.
Right. There was some thoughts that I had. It's like, oh my gosh, no more V6 because it's always been there. And I think when you drive this, you won't miss the V6.
No, it is a pretty trucky 4-cylinder.
Right. Right. But that engine has a lot of downsides, which is the gritty, rough nature of it. It feels and sounds unrefined. Seat of the pants, it gets off the line really well, and especially as I know we're going to get to the rented limited hybrid model. When you combine the turbo and the hybrid, it's a really zippy powertrain. But boy, it needs that engine in our truck. That needs to go to finishing school.
Well, the funny thing is, if this engine we've seen in other Lexus products, believe it or not, and the Toyota Highlander. So it's been around, and it was seemed kind of out of place in some of those as well. And it makes more sense here, but somehow it's gotten more gritty and gravelly, don't you think? I guess it's more fitting, but why did it have to get even worse?
Right.
You know what I mean, Steve?
I agree. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I noticed the same thing. It is like a more truckier application of the motor somehow. It's a difficult thing to explain, but I did notice that. And talk about that driving position, Quince, that got so much better. I mean, Tacoma is this truck we've talked about where everyone talks about Tacoma and I want a Tacoma. So I was really excited to drive the previous generation we had, and I got in it and I couldn't believe that I was just sitting on the floor. It was just a very strange experience in a truck that I wasn't expecting. So
sit on the floor and low roof height, so it's hard to get in.
Yeah, right.
And so you're going to conk your head on the roof, yet somehow you're still sitting on the floor, which of course is a terrible position to sit in if you want comfort.
Right. So so
talk to us about the new one.
The new one, it's just like a typical truck driving position. I mean, I got in it, and it's what I would expect it to be for a truck. So, you get in it, it's easy to get in, you're in an upright position, a good commanding view over the hood. It's almost like a full-size truck hood now. As everything's grown, you look over it and you can see the hood.
It's really, it's tall but very flat. So you feel like you can see toward the end. So you have a pretty good idea. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of headroom, pretty much zero center console intrusion. That's one of my pet peeves is when your right knee is jammed up against the center console, and pretty much no issue there. We're seeing a lot of vehicles these days where when you have the steering wheel in the position that you want it, it's cutting off some of the gauges. No issues here. So I mean, it's that part's really improved. You got to give them credit for that. I want to back up to we were talking powertrain, and we agree it works pretty well, right? It's got decent power. This is the 278 horsepower Turbo 4 non-hybrid in our test truck. No real delays off the line. The upshifts are pretty good, and it's got enough power for like merging onto the highway with some alacrity. I think that's a word, and and getting around, passing a car in 2-lane passing zone. But we also, rented this a hybrid version from Toyota. And this has 328 horsepower, so it's basically the same engine, but now it's got electric drive as well. And Quince, I want to ask you what you thought about that, because I know, Steve, you didn't get a chance to drive it, but you and I both did, Quince. Yeah. And what did you think of the hybrid compared to the regular version that we have?
I think it matches up really well, and it's similar to our experience with our Lexus TX 500H. So you've got the boost of the turbo, and then you've got that little push from the electric drive. And it's a really nice combination. And historically, automakers, when they've made hybrid models, most of them have focused on fuel economy.
Right.
But once in a while, they'll say, well, we're just going to give it like more performance. And I'm thinking like the first Honda Accord hybrid, which was a V6 with the hybrid drive, which made the thing practically a rocket. And I'm also thinking about our last Ford F-150 hybrid.
The power boost.
Also
power boost.
Jumped off the line like it was an old
Not really
car.
about fuel economy at all.
No, exactly.
But what a great powertrain.
Power hybrid.
Yeah.
And so I think when it comes to like giving buying advice about the Tacoma, I think it's worth, I think we should say to people, try this hybrid. In most cases, it's probably going to be more money. But,
for sure.
But
it's
a very satisfying powertrain, and not as gritty and rough as the standard one.
I agree that the extra power is very nice, because when you have extra power like that, you don't have to work the gas engine as hard, right? So when you need to accelerate with the same amount of speed as the other one, you don't have to give it as much gas and all that kind of stuff. But I actually noticed this one seemed more. There was more vibration coming through the steering wheel on this one. I thought they did a really good job with our truck, but this one, like anytime you're above just steady state throttle, you feel some vibration coming through the steering wheel. And if you give it a lot of gas, then there's like quite a bit of vibrations coming through the steering wheel, which I found really surprising. And I would be torn as to whether I love the extra power, but I don't know I don't know how it ended up with more vibration, but I think it's not like it's more gravelly. It's just vibrations coming through the steering wheel.
I thought it was going to be like a slam dunk between us.
No.
It's like, oh yeah, definitely go for the hybrid. But
when have we ever agreed on anything, Quince?
In general, Toyota's perfected hybrid powertrain. So
right.
I would, even without driving it, I would think it's a far better
so
vehicle.
It's the handoff between gas and electric, no problems there. They got that. It's just there's somehow some vibrations are coming through the steering wheel.
Interesting. Yeah. And I was gonna bring Steve into this because Toyota has such a great history of hybrid technology and the reliability history with hybrids.
Yeah.
It's just unmatched by any manufacturer.
Yeah, exactly. I thought this would be Toyota's perfected the system. I thought this would be a home run for them with the hybrid. So I didn't expect to hear a downside to it compared to the base truck, because talking about the truck that we have, the SR5, after I drove that, I thought that was one of the least comfortable vehicles I've driven in a long time.
The SR5. In terms of the ride comfort.
The ride comfort. Yeah. I'm not even very in tune to that. I feel like around here, people talk about, it's a bumpy ride or something, and I don't even really notice as much as others. But with this one, it was harsh. Every bump, it hit hard, and then it would almost like lumber over these bumps, and you can feel the suspension at work the entire time.
Can I jump on this for just a second here?
Please do.
So it's like I was thinking about what we were going to talk about in today's podcast, and the ride of the Tacoma, and we don't pull any punches with any manufacturer and all types of cars, but clearly in the digital logbook of our SR5 Tacoma, there's lots of comments about the ride, but it's a truck. So it's listen, it's It's a truck. Think about the frame, the way, the architecture of this vehicle. Most trucks are going to drive like trucks. There's a certain refinement, I think, that you need to be knowledgeably signing up for this. In other words, if you buy a Tacoma,
a body on frame, meaning not a Honda Ridgeline or something like that.
You buy most trucks, and you're surprised it's not driving like a Mercedes-Benz E-Class. It's like criticizing a Miata for having a small truck.
But here's where I would.
But the Colorado did
Exactly.
Did
That's
it
the
very well.
That's the problem with your
I wasn't
argument.
expecting anything more with the Colorado either. And that delivered. I mean, it wasn't, a Mercedes-Benz, as you're saying, but it was nice enough. It's this Tacoma was noticeably worse.
Okay.
And this is with a new rear suspension for them.
Right.
And so you would have expected that there'd be better ride comfort. We're not, like I said, we're not expecting it to be cushy or anything like that. It has to be stiff to some extent. It has to be sprung stiff because it has to be able to carry, be able to tow, and it has to be able to carry a large payload, right? Which regular vehicles don't have to worry about that. But when you look at how good that new Chevrolet Colorado is in terms of its ride and its handling, both of them, both aspects are superior to this Tacoma.
I got to give you guys.
Yeah, that is. They really missed the mark on that one. I totally agree with you on that.
And a number of our colleagues have commented on like how much money Toyota had to invest in this new Tacoma's rear suspension, and then they're looking at the leaf springs of the Colorado. Like, I'm not sure Toyota's getting their money's worth out of this.
Yeah.
But listen, that's a fair point. But I think I cut trucks a little bit of slack when it comes to ride, when it comes to handling, when it comes to noise levels, just because the inherent design of the kinds of vehicles that they are.
Right.
So
yeah.
I don't mean to be Captain Obvious here.
No. I think it's true. I mean, the one thing where that differs is full-size trucks, they typically don't handle very well, but their ride is usually pretty comfortable. But, I mean, the handling, speaking of, ride and handling, so we know the ride's pretty rough. The handling's not that great either. I mean, again, it's a truck, so you only expect so much. But it's a mid-size truck, so it's smaller than a full-size truck. It's slow reactions, really vague steering. Maybe that's the most annoying thing. You're going through if you're trying to pick up the pace a little bit on a curvy road, maybe you're in a hurry or something, and you're going through the turn and you're turning and you keep feeling like you have to keep turning more and more because it's like, why isn't this thing turning? It's just not a good handling truck. It's not like anywhere. It's not in the ballpark, I don't think, with the Colorado.
Yeah,
of course, not with the Ridgeline or anything like that.
But I think a little bit better than the Nissan Frontier. Because we tested a Frontier more recently enough to I remember how slow the steering was on the Frontier. Now our Tacoma doesn't have quick steering, but it's definitely a step.
The Frontier, at those speeds, the Frontier steering is ridiculously heavy. It seems like you just can't win with, you need to find all the best aspects and somehow get them onto one truck. And maybe, Jake Fisher will probably tell you that's the Honda Ridgeline, which to some extent, he's right. If you don't need to really do any serious duty with these trucks, then you probably are better off with a Honda Ridgeline or even a Hyundai. I was kind of bad-mouthing the Hyundai Santa Cruz, but I mean, a lot of people would be just fine with vehicles like that. Let's move inside the cabin. Let's talk about front seat comfort. Steve, I'll start with you. How did the seats work for you? I mean, this is a Toyota. Usually they have pretty good seats.
Yeah, the seats were okay. I mean, I thought they were pretty comfortable. They had enough thigh support for me and pretty decent bolstering. So, as we talked about, this is a truck. I wasn't expecting anything super comfortable from it.
It's working. The brainwashing is working.
Yeah. You have an effect on all of us, Quince.
Well, yeah, it is one area where I was like, okay, this is a pretty good seat for a truck, and it was comfortable. It was a good seat to spend time.
Well, because we're used to seats. A lot of seats have decent seat back side bolstering, but a lot of them don't have very good bottom cushion bolstering. This has pretty good bottom cushion bolstering. It actually holds you in place through corners.
Yeah, and it's not a fancy trim. SR5 is quite mainstream.
Yep.
It's the trim that we usually identify for a test vehicle. What do we think most trims that people are going to buy, and that's what we go with.
Right.
But I did get a little spoiled driving that limited hybrid that we rented from Toyota because those seats were measurably better than our SR5s, just because of more adjustment, all the extra adjustments.
I will say, when you see these crew cab pickups or, what did I say? Toyota calls it double cab. Is that what I said?
Yeah, double crew cab,
Yeah. you think, okay, that's a pretty good space back there. But get into the back seat. These midsize do not expect much out of these midsize trucks, right, Quince, in terms of rear seat space? Talk to us about comfort and space back there.
The seat back is very upright. I mean, they don't physically don't have the
can't recline at all. Yeah.
There's hardly any adjustments. It is not a great place to spend any time. Maybe small children out of child safety seats probably wouldn't mind that much. But I mean, this whole crew cab thing has evolved over the last 20, 30 years. I remember when crew cabs became
we're going old time.
Well, because it was like regular cabs and extended cabs, and that was it for the longest time. And then they brought in crew cabs, so almost 2 full-size side doors and rear seats. And my first reaction to this was, this is terrible. This is a terrible idea because the back seat isn't going to be very good, and you have a smaller pickup truck bed right now, so it doesn't do anything right well.
The key. That's the key. And they had to do the smaller pickup truck bed because people don't want a really long truck.
Otherwise, it would be too big.
I mean, now you can get them like that, but especially the full-size trucks, but there's very few of them out there.
And so now, what is the highest-selling pickup truck body style?
Crew cab, short bed.
Right. Want me to tell you why?
Fitting in the garage.
No, that is one reason. Yes, fitting in the garage. So this truck fits in my garage way better than a full size. I mean, I can actually walk around it than a full size.
Yep.
But to your point, this is a dad truck. I don't even care about the rear seat comfort or getting into it because I have 2 child seats back there. So I can, I have a bed to put whatever I want in it from Home Depot. I can drive the truck, and then I have the 2 car seats back there, so I could haul my kids around in my truck, in my mid-sized truck. I think this is,
So I understand mid-sized truc being the perfect mid-sized crew cab, short bed being the perfect size for you at this stage in your life.
At this stage in my life, it's great.
A small family, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my point in my story is do not trust me to be a prognosticator of what the future is going to hold, because I'm just wrong about everything.
I knew there was a point in there somewhere, Quince. I wasn't sure where we were going with that. But all right, let's talk about another thing. Let's talk about, we always go on about infotainment controls and all that. What did you guys think of the controls? Anything that stood out that really bothered you? I know actually, we do, believe it or not, folks, we have a pre-production meeting, and I thought there was something you said you really didn't like about this truck, or did we already talk about it?
We already talked about it.
Never
that
mind.
Was the ride.
Okay.
It was.
So,
as far as controls go, though, I thought they were, we've driven a lot of Toyotas recently, and I think it's a pretty easy infotainment system to get used to. It's logically laid out. It's quick. I like
reacting,
quick reacting.
Inputs,
yeah, it's pretty logical. It connects to Apple CarPlay easily. Everything that I use it for, I like it. The other controls, the gear selector is, a typical shifter. You can rest your hand on it. I like that.
Physical climate controls, climate controls. Gotta love that, right, Quince?
Straightforward. Absolutely. Yeah. I love the simplicity of it, and it kind of goes with the livability factor, getting in and out of the vehicle all the time, and you can set up yourself, whether it's adjusting the seat, adjusting the mirrors, picking out your favorite radio stations, pairing your phone, in just a heartbeat.
Yeah. All right. So let's. You were just sort of talking about this truck being right for you or whatever, and let's do that. If you were to buy a mid-sized pickup right now, would it be the Tacoma? Or would it be something else entirely? And Steve, let's start with you. And if it's not the Tacoma, what would it be?
Yeah, I like the mid-sized truck segment. That's good for me. It wouldn't be the Tacoma. I would buy the Chevy Colorado because I think they nailed it. They have a better riding truck. Not perfect. Just
it's a truck.
Good. It's a truck, but
I'm hard to
Quince made that clear. It's a truck.
Yeah, and I think the Colorado just nails it, with the one downside being, we talked about depreciation. I think you buy a Tacoma and you'll get a lot of money back in a couple years down the road, where I'm not sure if the Colorado would do that. But as far as driving it, that's what my choice would be.
But you're also going with the Colorado knowing what you know about General Motors reliability.
So you're saying you're surprising that he's doing that? You're surprised he's doing that?
A little bit.
Well, maybe he's only going to keep it for 5-6 years, and then he's going to get like a B5 Audi S4 Avant that he's always wanted or something.
Exactly.
I don't know.
This is just my truck that I won't put
But
that
I mean,
many
if
miles
you're
on.
if Colorado really would what you go with, you said you'd kind of maybe roll the dice on that a little bit, or
personally.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is, the best advice for everybody, but I would roll the dice on it. I was offended by the Tacoma's ride. I really was. And I think I just liked the Colorado. It was a great truck to drive.
Yeah. No, but and I'm not picking on you. There are cars that I really like and I would consider buying that have a poor reliability record. So
So you're on the spot.
Okay,
What would
I'm
you
on the
buy?
spot.
Mid-sized pickup, not a full-size. You have to answer the question.
Right,
Mid-sized pickup.
You got it.
And not an El Camino.
I'm swayed a little bit by the Tacoma's reliability history and the way they retain their values, because even a used one is super expensive. But for my money, I'm going with a Ridgeline. I'm not sucking up to Jake here.
Yes, you are.
I'm really not.
Yeah, you report directly to him. What are you talking about?
But actually, I report to Alex. But bygones. The Ridgeline to me is the best vehicle day to day. I don't own a trailer. I don't anticipate towing a trailer. The kind of hauling that I'm going to do is pretty light duty. So the ride, the handling, the noise levels, the controls, the reliability of the Ridgeline.
Yep.
The fuel economy isn't bad. I mean, I love the Ford Maverick hybrid.
Yeah.
But I guess we don't really have a comparison with small trucks because there aren't many.
Well, I made the statement that it has to be a mid-sized truck, so you have to follow the rules once for once.
I'm following directions. So I'm definitely putting my flag on Mount Ridgeline because I think that's the best one.
I
choice.
Totally get that. I think it's a great choice for
And
most
Mr.
people.
Monticello?
I would go with we recently got a 2024 Ford Ranger, which has been redesigned, and I think it's a great little truck. And I'll tell you, my main reason why I would get that over the other ones is the powertrain. I'm just so sick of powertrains not being very good. Like from the perspective, the Tacoma's Turbo 4, especially among Turbo 4s, right? The Tacoma's Turbo 4 works really well, sounds terrible. The Colorado's Turbo 4 sounds fine, but it's got some, it's got some vibrations that come through. It always wants to get into a super tall gear, so then it's doing this lugging thing, which is annoying, and you feel like you have to press the gas pedal much further to get, like it's got power, but you really have to press it, to really boot it to get it to do anything. The Ranger's Turbo 4 works great, and again, hasn't gone through testing yet or anything, but I'm kind of liking what I see. Yes,
I have it this weekend.
It has a pretty stiff ride, and it doesn't handle all that great. But for me, the powertrain would be why I would go with that. All right, so we're going to do something kind of fun. We're going to put a poll up on our YouTube page in the community tab, and go ahead and vote for which of our 3 picks you guys would choose, and gals. Or put a comment in if there's something else entirely you would choose. Of course, you have to follow the rules. I said mid-sized and no El Caminos.
Right. And by all means, vote for the Ridgeline and maybe throw a couple votes to Monty. And
you know what? Like you and John Linkove always try and make it seem like people have to vote for you. It's not a popularity contest. I can't help it if I keep making the best picks. Okay, so we have a first drive review up on our website, consumerreports.org, of the 2024 Toyota Tacoma. Of course, it's going to be going through our test program soon, so you'll check back for those full road test results there. And now let's move on to audience questions. Remember, we talked about it before, but the best place to send your questions, comments, 30-second video clips is talkingcars@icloud.com. And apparently our, I don't want to say harassing, but our basically harassing of you folks to send us video questions has worked, because we have one this week. And this comes from Ken at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. And so let's watch that video clip now.
Hi, Talking Cars. First, I'd like to give a shout out to Gabe. I taught economics at the Air Force Academy for 4.5 years, and I noticed he proudly displayed his econ textbook in his home studio during the COVID episodes. I bought this 2003 Thunderbird as I retired from the Air Force. I'd like to keep it running for another 10 or 20 years, but parts are getting as hard to find as for those World War II warbirds behind me. Do you think new technologies like 3D printing will help me keep this on the road for another 10 or 20 years? Or will parts obsolescence take my T-Bird away?
So first of all, huge props to Ken for his video setup, for his background. Love the creativity, not to mention the reference to the Beach Boys song, fun, 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 till someone takes his T-Bird away. Probably not his daddy in this case, but that's what the song's talking
what
about.
We didn't cover in the production meeting was the lyrics to the song.
Yeah. So, Steve, I'm going to throw this to you. What is your suggestion here for Ken as far as, is he doomed with his Thunderbird, or is there some hope for keeping that thing going for the next 10, 20 years?
Yeah, so it is a great video. I loved it. And I totally understand. I resonate with Ken because I used to have a 1992 Audi S4, the 5-cylinder turbo one, and those have no longer available parts like all over the place. I mean, it was really difficult to find parts, and it really was just an exercise in being creative and finding Volvo parts that would fit the car, or
Really?
buying it off of eBay from parts made overseas and that kind of thing. Now, I talked to our fantastic auto tech team, John, Mike, and Julian, and they gave me some good advice on parts that are no longer available in vehicles experiencing this. Now, this 2002 to 2005 T-Bird, it's kind of in that awkward in-between phase where parts are going no longer available, but there isn't really that much aftermarket support yet. So I don't think all is lost for this T-Bird. I think eventually aftermarket parts are going to start increasing, and he'll have an ability to buy them.
So right now he can still get some OEM parts, but eventually that's going away.
There are probably some that have gone away, yes. And it's that in-between phase of no longer getting OEM parts, but not having enough aftermarket. Ford and a lot of automakers, they share parts across many models. So if you do some digging for cross-reference parts, I'm sure there are enough parts for this T-Bird.
It's a platform shared by the Lincoln LS.
Yeah.
So that is at least a place to start.
Yes.
Right.
And, car forums, Instagram, Facebook car forums, there's a lot out there that John and Mike recommended. But one interesting question, I really love the 3D printing concept, and that's what I didn't know a lot about. So I asked Mike about that, and he said... Mike Crossan.
No one would ask Mike Quincy or Mike Monticello.
No, absolutely.
And it's pretty popular now for low stress items, so trim pieces and that kind of thing. But it is gaining popularity for for parts that are more important to a vehicle's integrity. And there are companies out there where if you take a part off and send it out to them, they will 3D print that same part for you and send it back. Now, it's going to be expensive to do that. So at this point, it's really a question of, in the words of Big John, he said, keeping an older car with NLA parts is always possible. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to spend to keep it. So I think that's really what it comes down to now. And then I think aftermarket support is probably going to start building up.
But the owners' forums, I think, are a great place, because oftentimes someone will say, I'm parting it out. So I got into an accident. The frame is shot or the engine is shot, but I've got all these other bits and pieces, like a lot of interior stuff, that I'm just going to be parting it.
Well,
and that's
not only that, but I mean, you go to those forums and you've got people who are going through the same thing you're going through. Maybe someone's already had the part rebuilt that you need rebuilt, and they've experienced this. So hopefully their frustrations will now be less of frustration for you. So that's really the benefit to go in those forums and seeing what owners are doing.
Exactly. For my Audi, that's where there was with this one case where something went bad on the rear brakes, and I went on the forum and someone was like, oh, hey, Volvo part so-and-so actually fits perfectly for our Audi.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's the part that people use, and Volvo continues to make that part. So
collective wisdom.
There you go. Okay, let's move on to another question. Ron from Cranston, Rhode Island. Ron says, I am the type of car owner that will buy a car and drive it until it doesn't run anymore. My job and lifestyle require me to spend a lot of time in my car, and I average about 27,000 miles annually. As such, vehicle reliability is always at the top of my list. When considering a new vehicle purchase, I do quite a bit of research, including reading articles and watching videos from Consumer Reports. Our most recent purchase was a 2022 Subaru Ascent for my wife. She drives about 12,000 miles a year, and although we do enjoy it, I do have a concern as it is a large 7-passenger vehicle with a turbocharged 4-cylinder. I know these engine styles have been a trend the past couple of years, offering additional performance with better fuel economy, but I have not seen their reliability discussed in any great detail. It seems manufacturers are making engines with smaller displacements that will have to work harder in larger vehicles, and I am really curious what you experts think about owning one of them in a big vehicle for 10 plus years. So Steve, since we got you on the show and you're one of our big reliability stats guys, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think about Turbo 4's reliability? What have we seen at CR with all of our annual auto surveys?
Well, it is a really logical question. Smaller motor, it's probably going to have to work harder. But as far as the data goes, we don't really see any different trends for smaller displacement engines with turbos versus V6s. In general, newer model cars, just their powertrains are more reliable. The nature of the problems that we're seeing are often electronics, infotainment, power equipment, things like that's what we're seeing more of now. So when you say there is an issue between, or what's the number of problems between the V6 and the inline 4 turbo version of a car, let's call it, the Atlas. The Atlas V6
Volkswagen Atlas, right.
replaced with a 4-cylinder now. Neither of them have that many powertrain issues. It's all other components in the vehicle, like power equipment, where you're seeing the issues. So I guess the way that I could put it is we don't have the data on it at this point.
Right.
Maybe over time we'll see, engines or turbos failing, that kind of thing. And anecdotally, maybe you can see certain situations like this happening. But for example, the Silverado, they have, the V8 and the 4-cylinder turbo. The V8 has far more problems than the 4-cylinder turbo version of the Silverado. So each model is always a one-off case.
And maybe for historical perspective, we say these aren't the turbos of the 1980s.
Yes.
True. Back then, there was Porsche, there was Saab, and there was Buick. The Buick Grand National had a turbo in it.
Volvo had turbos,
right?
as well.
But it wasn't as used as widely as it is now.
They went away, and now they're making a huge resurgence.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was all this advice on 80s turbos. It's like, let it warm up a little bit. Don't bring it to full boost when it's cold. After you drive it, sit in your driveway for a little. Let everything kind of cool down. Don't just immediately shut it off and all this stuff. And certainly the technology, the reliability has come a long, long way.
Well, and so two things I think about is, so to your point, well, first of all, we don't have 10-year data on the Ascent, right? It hasn't been around that long, so we can't speak to that. We can't say for sure, tell Ron that his wife's vehicle is going to be fine 10 years from now. We don't know that. But like you said, the data we have so far on the Ascent, the issues, because it does have some below average reliability some of the years, but its overall reliability, if you look at the powertrain and the engine, it's pretty much fine.
It is, yeah.
It's other issues with the vehicle.
The transmission in the older Ascents had an issue.
Yeah, the 19 and 20 models.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess not the full powertrain, but as far as the engine goes, when you compare to that model year average, there's not that much more for the Ascent.
You know what jumps out to me with Steve's answer is you always hear car makers, saying, lifetime powertrain warranty. It's like they're not risking much because that's a component. That's a component that isn't failing on a regular basis or is causing them warranty issues. So they're not risking anything by saying, we're going to guarantee you that engine. That's not what's going to break.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation.
And what I also took from Steve's answer early on was that new powertrains, new engines are much more reliable than they used to be. That's fantastic news for everybody. And again, I'm going to date myself here with Quince, but we used to do a lot of traveling in the 70s with my family in our old Volvo wagon. And sometimes it was us on the side of the road, my dad under the hood. And, used to see a lot of people on the side of the road. Never see anyone on the side of the road anymore, except maybe a flat tire or something, vehicles have gotten really reliable mechanically, right? From a mechanical perspective. It's really more the infotainment, software issues, things like that we're seeing more of the niggling issues,
and there's so much power equipment in vehicles now that you're seeing that kind of thing break more often as a general trend.
Yeah.
But the engines are more complicated now than they've ever been.
Yet somehow there's
way more. Yeah. There's more computer controls than there used to be. Yeah. All the turbos, all the hybrid systems. I'm constantly amazed and slightly impressed by what Toyota has done. Let's just use the Prius. The Prius has so much tech in it, and you've got the electric motors and the batteries and the internal combustion engine, and they're all working together. It's a complicated piece of engineering, and yet it is among year in and year out the most reliable model in our survey.
It's
A
complicated.
Prius.
Yeah, it's true. It's complicated, but it's stepwise. It's like, oh, last year there was this little problem. They fixed that. Every year they're fixing a little bit more. And I think maybe that's why motors have become more reliable in general. I'm not saying there aren't issues. They exist. But yeah, as a general statement, that's true.
All right. Well, Ron, hopefully we gave you some help there. And that's going to do it for this episode. Folks, don't forget to vote on that YouTube page for anybody's truck. It doesn't have to be mine. Whoever. Whichever choice you think is best.
Well, they could get it right to just vote for Mike.
Yeah. If you want to learn more about the vehicles and the topics we talked about, you can click on the links in the show notes. Don't forget to send those questions, comments, 30-second video clips to talkingcars@icloud.com. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.